Hey YouTube, doing something a little different here today. Doing a voiceover on the time lapse. Here I'm getting this engine ready to get pulled out of this car. This is a 2000 Honda Civic EX with the D16 Y8. A little backstory on this motor. Well, we bought this car for my daughter 3-4 years ago. She brought it home one day, said it was running funny, and it was. Did a compression test. It didn't have any compression on the number 4 cylinder. So I figured blown head gasket, burnt valve, something like that. Went to do a leak down test on that number 4 cylinder. Put a screwdriver or something down the cylinder, bring it up to the top dead center on that cylinder. And I was rotating the engine around and the piston wasn't moving. Uh-oh. So I went and pushed down on that screwdriver or whatever I had in there to indicate. Pushed down on it and cylinder dropped. The piston dropped. Well, okay. I have a broken rod. So I had a broken rod on the number 4 cylinder. Sit in the yard for a long time. A couple years. Finally got tired of watching it sit there and decided to do something about it. I was able to source a D16Y7, which is the non-VTEC version of this engine, pretty locally. The difference between the Y7 and the Y8, the Y7, like I said, it's the non-VTEC version, whereas the Y8 is VTEC. The main difference is the head and the intake. So I was able to use the block, which I'll end up doing. I put my head, my intake, everything else on the block. I didn't use anything but the block from the Y7 that I bought. Also, the Y7 does not have a knock sensor, which is located right up under the back of the head here. But it is threaded for one, so I was able to. Well, I didn't use mine. I ended up breaking mine trying to take it out, but I bought a new one, threaded right in, no problem. So yes, you can use a Y7 block for a Y8 head. So this video, this is just getting ready to pull it out. I didn't get any video of actually pulling it out or anything. I think what I ended up doing, I got everything loose. I believe I ended up taking the intake off of the head before I pulled the motor, just to free up some room. You don't have to do that. Everything under the head you can get to from under the car. I wanted to spend as little time under the car as possible since I was working on the ground. And plus, I had new gaskets for everything anyway, so I was going to end up taking the intake off anyway. Basically, I'm taking all the wiring, all the hoses, fuel line right there. Like I said, I took the intake off. Usually my plan of action with pulling this motor, I'll take the wire and all the hoses off. Pretty much give yourself as much room as possible. I would take all the bell housing bolts out except for two. I would leave one on each side, one on the back, one on the front. Just loosen them, leave them in. I would go up underneath the car and take the exhaust loose, torque converter bolts. On this motor in particular, there is a bracket from the intake down to the block. If you take it loose, you free up all kinds of room to get the wire and hoses and stuff. Then what I would usually do is I would put a jack with a block of wood up under the oil pan, take the motor mount loose, the front motor mount, which is here on the top left. This engine also has a lower motor mount on the front, which you have to take loose, take off. Power steering and AC compressor, 99% of the time I will leave them, I will just take them loose from the engine, but still leave them attached to their hoses and everything, and just kind of put them up out of the way somewhere instead of breaking them loose and making a mess and all that. On this one too, also after I removed the intake, I did remove the alternator, free up some room. After the motor mount, I would take the harmonic balancer crankshaft pulley off. That gives you a lot of room coming up and out. That's basically it. I mean, I don't pull radiator or anything like that. But yeah, spoiler alert, this job's already done. I put the block in, put this head back on it and everything, running fine. Here I'm taking the intake off. Intake's pretty easy to get off. Biggest problem is there is a stud, there's a nut on the bottom in the middle. It's probably the hardest to get off. There's the intake. Get all the hoses and stuff off the bottom I couldn't reach. And it's out of there. And there's that knock sensor I was talking about right there that just broke. But yeah, I found me a new one of them. Oh, I also had the thermostat housing and the coolant tube here under the head. I had to replace that. It is different. So I had to use this old one. wiring harness loose from the block. All that mess out of the way. I'm unhooking the temperature sensors here. The good thing about wiring harnesses and hoses and such is they have memory. They kind of, when you go to reassemble, they kind of point you in the direction they want to go. Although I don't think there's a connection on this car that can, well, a wiring connection that could plug into something wrong. But as far as routing and everything, if you listen to them, they'll tell you where they want to go, where they're supposed to live. Another good thing is take pictures as you go along. Work out the breaker bar for something here. Might have been that back bell housing bolt. I can't remember. Yeah, that's what it is. So now I'm taking the exhaust manifold loose. Yeah, the key is get yourself as much room as possible on the front toward the radiator, and the front toward the crank pulley on that side. Because when you're going to pull the engine, you want to get it away from the transmission and firewall as much as possible. I don't know where I went. With the exhaust manifold, what I do is I'll take it loose from the head. There's a little bracket just up under the manifold, where the manifold attaches to the downpipe. There's a bracket there you have to take loose that attaches to the block. There's another black bracket on the back of the block where the downpipe attaches to the rest of the exhaust. But what I do is I take the manifold loose from the engine and I go all the way back to where the downpipe attaches to the rest of the exhaust here near the firewall, below the firewall, and I take all that down in one piece. Sometimes some manifold bolts on the bottom that connect to the downpipe, they're usually a booger to take off, so I just bypass that. With the whole assembly, it'll drop down no problem. So it looks like I'm under the car, still working on the exhaust. Might be getting the air conditioner compressor loose. I don't know. I'm doing something down there. I'm gonna let y'all enjoy the rest of the show. Like I said, I mean, in this video, I'm not actually pulling out the engine. I didn't get a video of that. It's just kind of getting it ready to get pulled out. But I thank y'all for watching. Enjoy the rest of the show.